I know everything there is to know about anime, but these two knuckleheads have never even watched an episode. So today we're gonna find out. If we jump into a few anime and watch only the first episode, can these guys guess what happens throughout the rest of the series off of just their first impression? Let's go watch!
Now, the anime we're gonna watch today are all wildly popular and successful, but I've picked these three in this order for good reason. I thought since my friends are terribly unversed in the anime medium as a whole, what better way to start them off than the same way a lot of us got into anime in the first place, with the classic edgelord fantasy, Death Note. Next, after their little appetites are all wet and ready from that peak fiction, we'll be sticking in a similar vein of mastermind edgelord protagonists with code geass, and then we'll be rounding it out with one of my personal favorite anime, because I had to save the best for last, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, I don't know, I just really like this one, but the plot's super complicated and people online are still talking about what it all even means, so good luck, guys.
Well, we just watched all of them.
Yeah, we sure did.
Before we jump into it, how was that experience for you guys?
I fucking hate anime.
Good and bad. Understand now maybe why I did get hooked on anime from having only watched dubs, because they're a little goofy.
I do think if you're trying to get the true authenticity of the original performance, Japanese subtitle does help.
If you're an actual anime fan and you watch dubs, you're cringe. I'll say that is so cringe.
You might be
coming for you. So let's jump into it.
So the anime is called Death Note. It starts off with a young boy named Light in a classroom. Then outside he sees a black book on the ground and it says Death Note on it. And he picks it up and it has 3 rules in it. So he takes it and he writes down names in it and he kills a serial killer, which was conveniently killing people while he was testing the Death Note. But he's still not convinced, and so he goes to a convenience store and there's a guy who announces his full name again as he pulls up to try to sexually assault a young woman. So he writes down the name and it's proven that the Death Note actually works. They're in the Shinigami realm and there's a bunch of demons who are all talking about how they are the gods of death and they have Death Notes that can kill people if you write their names down. Ryuk says that he dropped his Death Note into the mortal realm and then eventually he goes to Light's room.
Dude's been writing names, bro.
And he's been absolutely fucking cooking. They talk about all the implications of Death Note, one being that you can't go to heaven or hell if you use the Death Note. It shows a montage of the kid writing down names of all these killers and stuff at the end of all of this, and he's going to rid the world of evil. You don't need to watch it if you haven't seen it. That was good enough.
Initial thoughts on Death Note?
It was my favorite one of the 3.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll say it.
In terms of the story, you said it was your favorite. What were your initial kind of like knee-jerk, okay, this seems to be the thing they're getting at?
Knee-jerk reaction in terms of the story, I think had the most like amount of meat for me that was interesting, of like they introduced this really cool concept and sort of established like, all right, these are the boundaries we're playing within, and I'm sure in future episodes they really push those boundaries that they established. Feels like so much story happened in the first episode.
That
right?
one moves at the best click. It definitely like, it feels like it was 5 minutes. The other ones were more slow burn.
I would say the themes feel the most complex to work within versus the other two were more like straightforward. I don't know if they felt predictable per se because I had no idea what the fuck was going on, but
Right, yeah.
Death Note had the most potential depth.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, Death Note is one of the GOATs for a reason. It has that super gripping premise right from the jump. Let's jump into y'all's predictions for it. I am going to assign points based on how correct their predictions are. If it is pretty much correct, I will give them 1 point. If it's close, I'll give them 0.5. If it's completely off base, 0 points.
Yeah, the demon will fuck an apple at some point.
No, but I had the opposite.
Okay.
I had the opposite, which is apples in the Shinigami realm taste like absolute ass. Is my prediction.
That's another good one.
Is this guy's walking around like, I gotta eat these fucking ass apples? That's because he mentioned that they taste really good in human realm. That leads me to believe that there's some in the Shinigami realm, but they just like taste absolute turd, dude.
Okay, I'm gonna be pretty lax about this one. With Quinn's, I'll give you half points for that.
Oh,
Because here's the thing. He doesn't per se fuck them, but it is a very popular meme, but also knowledge that the community who appreciate Death Note have, is that Ryuk is just like obsessed with apples. And it is kind of like a meme. Like it's kind of like his they're great kind of fucking thing.
All
So
right.
you did hit the nail on the head on that. And then yours was apples in the Shinigami realm are bad. Honestly, I don't remember if they ever establish that there are ever any apples in the Shinigami realm, but I do follow your logic that if there are, they're turds.
Right?
So I'll give half points on that as well.
Thank you.
These guys are normies, and I'm trying to get them into anime. Anything I can give them, I'm going to give them. But also, I am going to be strict when I need to.
Bigger
I will
ones.
say that in the intro, they had all the demon heads lined up. I think that those are going to be a series of different bosses that he's going to have to battle through and kill and defeat on his way to whatever the fuck he's doing.
Oh, hell yeah. Like, he has to, like, beat each of the demons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have any that are kind of like that?
Nope.
0 points for that one. He never battles any demons. Now, there is quite a bit of intrigue with the Shinigami realm.
Hold on. I'm connected. This is an arrow down to another one.
Oh, yeah?
Where
Go for it.
it's other people have death notes that they connect to these demons. And that was they were gonna battle, and it was gonna be like the demons fighting, but also the people with the death notes fighting. That's the entire prediction there.
It's a little off base, but honestly, since you make several predictions in that are technically true, I will give you a full point for that.
Full point?
Because other Death Notes do exist, other Shinigami get introduced, they all have different goals in mind and stuff. They don't have a common goal. So there is a bit of like that turmoil between each of the parties.
Okay, I had something similar.
Okay.
Another person who has a death note in the world will realize what's happening with all the people dying of heart attacks and will find their way to Light and try to stop him or steal his death note in some way.
I will still also give you a full point for that. The thing is, like, both of those predictions were very beefy and there's mostly truth to it. It's just the third base, y'all kind of like jump to like another assumption, but you're right. There is another person with a death note who seeks out and finds Light because she admires him.
Oh.
Light is known to the public. They don't know who Light is, but they know that the person who's responsible for killing all these criminals is referred to as Kira. So she eventually is like Squeaky Fromm with like Charlie Manson, like kind of like obsessed with like, and basically joins his cult. And she also is gifted a death note from another Shinigami. There are other death note users and there are other Shinigami that are kind of all at odds. Sure.
There's a quote where he says, "So I can use the death note and not be punished?" He's gonna be punished. And he eventually, an extension of that, he will eventually have to kill himself because he has become so evil.
Ooh.
This was my shooting for the fences.
These are two separate
No,
ones?
this is the one large prediction.
I will give you half
so
point.
evil.
I will give you a half
Take
point
half
for
a
that.
point for that. Felt very bold.
I think that it wasn't an accident that Light found the death note. I think because he's very smart and they knew about that just because they allude to his grades and like, this is the best you've ever done. I think that Ryu purposefully dropped it in a place that he knew Light would find it.
That is like a common thing that people suspect when upon first viewing it. It is just kind of like random that Light finds it.
Oh shit. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so 0 points.
And my fourth prediction is eventually Light will kill the demon with the book.
0 points. He does not kill the demon with the book.
Okay, that kind of feeds into my prediction. I think because Light sees himself as like this god and that he knows what's right and wrong, that the lines get really blurred for him and he kind of goes crazy with all the power after a certain amount of time and he loses focus, and I think he writes down the name of someone that he loves or a family member or someone close to him, and it drives him insane and he somehow switches places and becomes a Shinigami by the end of the series.
There was a lot to yours as well. Like, that could easily be like, if you were right on all that front, I would give you 3 points. But the first third of it was fully correct. I will give you a full point.
Yeah!
In that he gets obsessed and kind of crazy and like fucks up.
The rest of it though?
The rest of it is not true.
Damn it! In my head, he almost uses his smarts to trick Ryuk and get out of the deal by either going to the Shinigami realm and becoming a demon himself, a god of death himself. That was essentially my big prediction, was was how the series ended, was he cheated Ryuk by switching places and going to the Shinigami realm
That's
and leaving
actually,
him in there.
that's an interesting point, and I hadn't really, since Death Note's been a part of my life for so long, I hadn't really expected this, but it seems like both of you, since I guess the first episode gives you so much of the Shinigami realm, you expect it to kind of be a crucial part, especially with your preconceptions on what anime is, right? It's like fantastical and that kind of thing, and it's like good versus evil. Surprisingly enough, and this is like one of the big things things both of your assumptions are off on. It is not a battle between humans versus Shinigami. It's never that. What Death Note is known and beloved as, which the first episode doesn't really give you a good idea on this. The first episode sets you up for like, yes, obviously Light has these weird, malformed opinions about justice and how he can achieve it in the world, how he can become the god of this perfect world without crime. However, it doesn't introduce to you the central conceit of the plot and the rub between the protagonist and quote-unquote antagonist, which is it's a cat and mouse detective kind of game. There's another character that is introduced who also is similarly clever like Light, and basically the whole thing is Light trying to come up with ways to give them the runaround, and that person trying to figure out who Kira is.
I see.
Because they don't know who Light is.
Yeah.
And that is something that the first episode does not give you.
He will discover something bad about someone close to him, parentheses, maybe a love interest, and have to kill them.
I'll give you half points. Because it's not something that specific, but yeah, there are constant times throughout the plot where Light has to make split-second decisions of people who are close to him, and they kind of become expendable to him. And while they do form what seems like close bonds, you kind of realize more and more, it's kind of the Breaking Bad of it all, right? The Walter White, like, oh, okay, you're of use to me as long as you have a use.
Last prediction, I have Ryu writes Light's name in his Death Note.
I'll give you a full point for that.
Yes!
Oh my god!
So that's why, okay, I'm glad that I waited to say what I was going to say since that was one of your predictions. That's why I was kind of beating around the bush with like a couple of quins.
So how do you feel about Death Note overall?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
I think it can be overhyped. I think it's a really good gateway anime to get into like anime and that kind of thing. Death Note's really strong for that. It's also really strong for when you're 12 and it's deep. Which is when I first watched it. Because it is super edgy, and especially like in this day and age, like how edgy it was very cool at the time.
We watched the first episode of Code Geass. It started, there was a cold cut of some hands like reaching for each other. So we get introduced to some guy named Lelouch, and they go to some noble's fucking castle and eating somebody's ass at chess. He steps up and he's like, I will beat you in less than 9 minutes. And the guy's like, no, you can't do that. So of course he does it. And the whole time this is happening, like the city's being bombed. Like there's just news clips of like buildings and shit exploding in the background. The monarch
The king.
is just like playing fucking chess. There's a guy named Prince Clovis. He was yelling about some shit. They're called 11s because Britannica took over Japan, and Britannica's like this invented super nation of like the United States and Britain, and they're like taking over the world, and now like Japan is just referred to as District 11. So there's the District of Britannica, and then there's the people of Japan who have a resistance. There's like a negative anti-Britannica sort of undercurrent happening. At one point there's like a convoy that has something on it. It ends up crashing. Lelouch is driving by at the same time it crashes, and he's like, I need to be in there. And he gets in it for some reason.
Boy, does he get in there, yeah.
And they're like driving around, they're fighting these fucking robots.
One is the rebel,
Yeah.
and then two are the Britannia.
There's
Okay.
two sets of...
And they were like fighting over this orb which has a poisonous gas in it. Except if not, it's a girl.
Yeah.
It's revealed. He goes, no, that's not poison gas at all. It's a girl. And then she comes out, and then the Britannia forces show up, and they're like, you can't be in here. You're an 11. And he's like, dude, this is a mistake. And they're like, we're gonna fucking kill you. And so they go to kill him, and the girl's like, he can't die. So this girl who just came out of the ball, the first thing she says, and then she jumps in front of the bullet, gets fucking domed.
And Jimmy Neutron brain
Fucking-
blasts the shit out of them.
Yeah, well, something happens where, like, Clovis orders, like, Japan to be completely wiped out after this happens, and then Lelouch enters a contract to do something with this girl in exchange for a power which he can see many different lives. That's
He orders all the people who are gonna kill him to kill themselves.
yeah, that's
and
the
then
yeah. He and they
like
go
mind controls
as
them.
you wish, my lord, and
Yeah,
then they
with
kill
his
him.
new
So
power, with his new little eagle in his eye.
This one was a snoozer. for
Dude,
me.
I fucking hated this one. Oh my
There was
God,
a
it was
lot of
awful.
information. I did not enjoy the art style, and again, that really fucking stuck out to me. And on top of that, they were just like introducing characters, and the story was a little too convoluted. You know, I liked Death Note because it was just like, we're in Japan, yeah, there's a realm somewhere else, but we're in Japan, and then this fantastical thing happens to Japan. This one, it's like, fucking LeBron James just got drafted, and Japan is under police state. And it's just like the future desolate, like, we have robots that fight each other, but it's actually us. Shit was kind of just like...
One of the reasons I picked this one, and there are a myriad of reasons, but one of them was because I do, and I've always thought that the first episode of anything, right, is kind of like an art in of itself, right? You have to get people hooked, you have to sell the premise, you have to be concise, you have to be clear. An episode one where you can take away all the themes and kind of understand the characters and where they're coming from is actually kind of like a masterclass when done right. And I think Death Note does do that right. And so for Code Geass, I knew that from the jump, it's so fucking convoluted and they throw so much at you. So I wanted to give you all that whiplash and just more of a taste of what anime has to offer, and still consider the fact that some people, their favorite anime and what they think is the best anime of all time is Code Geass. They think it's the best. They think it's the GOAT.
One episode of it, I can safely say that is not the case.
It's like why I hate it. Just a quick one. I think at some point, Revolt dies. Just because he's a funny guy.
I hated that guy.
I think he dies at some point because he's the funny character.
That he should die.
You both claim that?
No, I proclaimed it. That's not one of my predictions. I hope that he dies. I hope that Austin is correct.
Try and count how many characters were introduced just in this episode.
1,000.
15?
Like actually 15. Yeah.
Do you think all of them matter?
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the friend of the main character should.
He really just falls to the wayside.
Oh.
Okay. So you don't even
Damn,
know.
I thought that was a fucking... I thought that was a bullseye.
He's
He
kind
might
of
die
around.
off screen.
He is so inconsequential to the plot at large that he might as well not be. He's around at some points, but he doesn't die. He's fine. A 0 for Austin. Sure,
First
go for
prediction, super bold. The kid from the beginning will obliterate Britannia.
Lelouch?
He follows through with what he proclaims in the beginning.
I'll give you 1 point. Yeah. Do you have anything kind of related to that in terms of the overarching plot?
The only thing I had kind of like that was that he confronts Clovis with his new power at some point.
Oh yeah, I think that's just straight up a 1-pointer. Yeah.
That was the only thing I kind of had about like the end kind of battle.
The whole point of like the plot for Code Geass, which you can kind of get from that episode, although like y'all said, by the end of that first episode, it feels like they're finally getting things going, and then it just kind of ends. Oh, he has this power now, and okay, the episode's over. The whole thing hinges on this power, this thing that he announced as a kid because he has a lot of resentment towards Britannia, and he kind of uses this power to take action.
Oh, yeah.
The girl who is in the wheelchair in the intro, she will walk at some point in the series.
I need to fucking fact check.
fact check.
Because Nunnally is Lelouch's little sister.
Oh.
And he's like super protective of her.
Yes!
That's what I thought.
Come on, Nunnally!
Yeah, basically everything Lelouch does, it's kind of like the linchpin that the writers kind of put in it is just like, oh man, he's doing all this stuff, but it's because he cares a lot about his baby sister.
I had one. I think that scene, the cold scene before the intro that we saw, part of the power is to go back in time and maybe see his past self or help his past self. This is one of those scenes they put in so that the second time you watch it, you're like, the thing! I never noticed it the first time.
Yeah.
I think that scene where they're like, their hands are like trying to grab each other is like a scene from a super important part later on down the line.
I'll give you half points, but not for the reason you think. Like, there isn't any time travel in Code Geass.
Fuck!
However, like, yes, there is some point where they do flash back to that time, but it's because Lelouch and Suzaku are like foils to each other.
Lelouch will become the leader of the terrorist organization. If he's not already, then he will eventually.
Yep, 1 point.
Fuck!
His and Nunnally's mother is killed by the Emperor, who is their dad. And they're like freaked out and they're like, why the fuck did you do that? There's something with that and it's super fucking complicated. I'll do whatever I want. And so Lelouch like resents his father because like he had their mother killed. That's why he holds resentment for Britannia. I think you mentioned this, that there's kind of like this resistance of sorts among like, Area 11 and that kind of thing, for sure. Mm-hmm. They aren't super organized. They're kind of ragtag, classic kind of just like small resistance group. They need a leader though. Lelouch steps up as that leader and he becomes really good at it because of his intellect, because of his tactical abilities, all this shit. The very heavy-handed foreshadowing of him playing a fucking chess game at the beginning. That's another reason why I picked this, is because like Light is known for his powerful strategy and all this shit, and this is another protagonist. It's that classic meme of like, y'all playing checkers while Lelouch is playing chess, kind of thing.
Kind of a grab here. Britannia knew powers that the girl had. That's why they were transporting her, and they wanted to use that power. Either the king or Prince Clovis wanted to use her power for himself to basically destroy anybody that isn't in support of Britannia. That's why she was on convoy through the city.
Let's not overcomplicate it. Let's go back to your prediction. Your prediction is just like, they know about it and they're trying to control her power.
Yeah.
Which I don't remember the full details of. I will give you a full point for that.
Yeah!
Because the Emperor himself has the power of geass as well.
Oh!
The purple-haired guy, the guy who's like the special quarter guy, he's like, oh, you all really fucked up this time, didn't you? He's gonna take over power from the Emperor, and also he's gonna use the fact that Clovis, the third prince of the Empire, is a pervert, and he's gonna out him as a pervert.
I don't think he does any kind of like power struggle, but I do remember that he becomes like a little more critical in the plot, but he doesn't have anything, he's not trying to like do anything with Clovis.
Okay, last prediction I had. There is a plot line that involves Britannia soldiers being converted to the other side.
Oh yeah, I'll give you a point.
Uno!
I can't remember concrete stuff, but like, I mean, the whole thing is like, basically by the end of the first season, Lelouch just kind of is running the world, and then the Emperor like deletes his fucking memory. And then season 2, it's classic anime syndrome, man. Like, season 2 is like such a fucking like slog and shit. They literally just like, they delete Lelouch's memory so that they can fucking rehash things again. However, the way it ends is like, it is like a good ending for what it is. As fucking rocky as season 2 is, it does land on its feet. But yeah, I think there definitely is, to some degree or layer, defectors. Suzaku is like the one character who really just like holds on to his beliefs through everything, and everyone else is kind of, can be flip-floppy. One of the main Britannian soldiers, he actually ends up working for Lelouch. So yeah, that's a full point.
My final prediction is that the powerful green-haired girl and the main guy will kiss, and if not kiss, they will hug at some point.
Dude, like, I wish I could give a big, like, this is how I think the story's gonna end. I got no fucking idea.
No idea. I don't even know what it's about.
What road we're even driving on? What fucking direction we're heading in? I wish I could...
Oh, yes! They're smooching!
How is she alive? She took one to the dome.
Come on,
Dude,
baby.
no one actually dies in this show.
Neon Genesis Evangelion. So the first thing that I wrote down was Evangelion, more like even gay lion.
You get a bunch of these like environmental shots, and you're introduced to a young boy in a war-torn kind of looking city.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's a being that shows up, and it's like fighting, and it's like breaking into tons of stuff, and it's like a classic kaiju, and it's like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, man, this lady's supposed to be here to pick me up at some point. Where the heck is she? And then like, there's tons of explosions, it's like, boom, boom, and it's like, oh man, tough recover. And then she rolls up in her car, and she's like, get in. And then they ride off, and there's tons of action shit. And then it cuts to like, the people in this headquarters, that it's super sci-fi and it's techno-babbly, and there's a guy with glasses who's like, and there's like his fucking like cohort, he's just like, what do you think we should do, sir? And the other guy's just like, yeah, and then it keeps cutting between these two things and this fucking being fucking fighting, and eventually the woman who picks up the young boy is just like, oh yeah, and he's like, where are you taking me? And she's like, I'm taking you to see your dad. And he's just like, my dad? I haven't seen my dad in so long. Oh my gosh. And then they end up going there, and of course like this whole battle is going on with this fucking like thing the whole time. And then through a series of like, just again, slow burner shots of going through the facility, they're then introduced to this giant robot looking thing, and they're just like, this is an Avid Unit 01. And Shinji's just like, whoa, that's crazy. And then basically all of them are just like, get in the fucking mech, Shinji. And he's just like, wait, I don't want to. And they're just like, you have to. Unit 0 is injured. We need someone to pilot this thing. There's a thing attacking right now. And he's just like, I don't want to do it. And they're just like, all right, bring the girl who's injured. And then they bring out this girl who hasn't been named yet, so I won't drop her name. And she's on a gurney, and she has an IV hooked up to her. And she's just like, oh my god, I'll do it. And then he gets it in the mech, and then they shoot him out of the mech, and then he gets on the field with the thing, and then the episode ends.
Ain't no shit that happened in this. There's like 0 things that happened.
It was all set up.
It was all set up. Thinking back on the episode, it was like 4 scenes.
And it's pretty indicative of 90s anime because it's a sensibility thing. I really like 90s anime because it is like a little bit of a slow burn. It's really vibe and aesthetic and setting like a tone and environment that's kind of lost in like the homogenized kind of media we have now. It seems super fast-paced and exciting, and yet it all seems like kind of the same fucking flavor of ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first prediction I had, the angel is not actually just something set to destroy, but is sort of a neutral being, a protector or a good thing that's just defending itself.
Oh, I had that one too. I said the people with the angels or associated with the angels are actually the good guys.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a first season.
That's both of our first prediction.
I'm gonna give you both half points.
Nice.
Okay.
Because there's a lot more at play, but I wouldn't say it's like so simple. Even though it is packaging itself as a mech show, it's much more like psychological thriller.
Another one I had, Shinji's dad built the original angel, and since it was AI, he lost control of it and has been spending all of his time trying to find a way to beat it.
I'll give you half points.
Nice.
Shit.
He didn't really invent the angels, but he was responsible for a disaster that happened. In a lot of ways, the work NERV is doing is covering its own ass, but in a totally different kind of way. That's why I'm giving half points.
My actual prediction is everybody will get naked at some point.
I will give you... It excited me, but that'll break the rules of the game. If I give you 2 points, I'll give you 1 point.
Fuck yeah, baby!
What? Everyone gets naked?
Fuck yeah! They get double naked!
So there's this thing called the Human Principality Project, which is what his dad's actually working towards, which is just like basically the collective human consciousness all merging together. And basically by the end of the series, that happens. And a version of how it happens in End of Evangelion is they all are kind of fucked, which is one of the movies. It's not technically the series. And you know, people's consciousnesses all become one. There is imagery of like people naked. They no longer have their clothes or their identities or anything. So while you did say it in jest,
No.
in more ways than one.
I said it as my series prediction.
in more ways than one, they
But in a
become
funny
naked.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's very
Easy
beautiful.
one. Shinji becomes a fucking goated pilot fighter.
All right, yeah, I'll give you 1.
Yeah, no, we all knew that was coming.
That's crazy.
Next one, there will be some kind of hive mind that is in charge of whatever the angels are a part of. Main bad guy.
I'll give you a point. Because, again, they are doing it for a reason. I'm pretty sure, like, again, it's disguised as, like, trying to prevent, like, the end of the world, but I think Shinji's dad is literally, like, farming the angels in a way to create his Human Principality Project. So,
Ava gets destroyed at some point, and Shinji protects it to return the favor.
that's so specific. I think 0 points for that. Because it's so much more complicated. Thing with the Avas is it's not kind of like an Iron Giant thing. There's a big revelation in the series that the Avas are actually living things, for sure. I think the one in Shinji's is the soul of his mother, and that's why it protects him, not knowingly, but because it literally runs on the soul of his mother, which also kind of speaks to how much of a fucking monster his dad is.
My next prediction is that the dad and the son will never mend their relationship and the dad will die before they have the chance to do that.
I mean, yeah, 1 point, yeah. Their relationship isn't...
My
given
last
them-
one is that the kid and the lady will kiss.
Oh my god!
Yes.
I thought that was gonna be a
Can my prediction be that the fucking credits play at the end? Can I get a point for that? Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
The kid and the old lady? Come on!
Grand total, Austin with 9 points, and yours truly with 11 points. So I do believe that I win the anime-themed prize, which is the fuckable body pillow.
Yep. I'll get you a fuckable body pillow of your favorite waifu or husbando from the 3 series that we've just watched.
I want the lady who kisses the kid.
Masato?
Mm-hmm.